Welcome to the World Service of All India Radio. Today is Tuesday, the 13th of October. I am Lucy Gabriel and along with me is Neil Kamal Sharma bringing you the news updates.
US Deputy Secretary of State Stephen Biegun has called for expansion of Quad, saying like-minded countries and groupings must join hands to ensure a free and open Indo-Pacific. Addressing the India-US Forum in New Delhi, he said, the coalition can be extended to broader areas of shared interests and with other like-minded partners seeking a free and open Indo-Pacific. Biegun said in Southeast Asia, Quad partners can deepen engagement with 10-nation ASEAN grouping, cooperate in defending freedom of the seas, and work together in governance, health, environmental protection, and transparent data sharing. He said Quad is a partnership driven by shared interests, not binding obligations, and is not intended to be an exclusive grouping. Biegun said any country that seeks a free and open Indo-Pacific and is willing to take steps to ensure that should be welcome to work with us.
Road Transport and Bridges Minister of Bangladesh, Ubaidul Qadir, has said that relations between Bangladesh and India have reached a new height due to the sincere efforts of the Prime Ministers of the two countries. He was speaking to the media after the newly appointed High Commissioner of India, Vikram Doraiswamy, paid a courtesy visit to him in Dhaka on Monday. Terming the Bangladesh-India relations as multidimensional, Mr. Qadir said that long-standing bilateral issues like land boundary and enclaves have been resolved, while progress has been made in resolving issues like river water sharing between the two countries. He said a joint working group of the two countries is also engaged in unlocking the potential of the blue economy.
In a major setback to Pakistan, the Financial Action Task Force's FATF's Asia Pacific Group APG on money laundering has reprimanded the South Asian country for its slow progress on the technical recommendations of the FATF to fight terror financing. Earlier, Pakistan had requested for its rating pertaining to targeted financial sanctions on terrorism and terrorist financing to be revised. The APG stated that the insufficient progress made by the country fails to justify a re-rating. The APG said Pakistan will remain in the enhanced follow-up list and will have to continue to report back to the APG on progress to strengthen its implementation of comprehensive anti-money laundering and terrorist financing measures.
India has sustained its global position of being the country with one of the lowest cases per million deaths due to COVID-19. The global figure for cases per million is 4,794, while India is clocking 5,199. UK, Russia, South Africa, USA and Brazil are reporting higher numbers of COVID-19 cases. The deaths per million in India are 79, while the world average is 138. The new low in daily cases is the result of collaborative action by states and union territories.
Thousands of conservative Muslims marched in Indonesia's capital on Tuesday, demanding that the government revoke a new law they say will cripple labor rights. Authorities blocked streets leading to the presidential palace in Jakarta, where clashes between riot police and rock-throwing demonstrators, including workers and students, broke out last Thursday. The protest spread and turned violent in some cities across the world's most populous Muslim nation, but calm had largely returned to Jakarta over the last 4 days. The job creation law approved by Parliament last week is expected to substantially change Indonesia's labor system and natural resources management. It amended 79 previous laws and is intended to improve bureaucratic efficiency as part of efforts by President Joko Widodo's administration to attract more investment to the country.
Taiwan on Tuesday dismissed new spying allegations by China as a future attempt to smear the government of the self-governing island democracy that Beijing claims as its own territory. The remarks follow a report on Monday night by Chinese broadcaster CCTV featuring a taped confession from a man identified as Cheng Yung-chin, the second such report in as many days. On Sunday, CCTV broadcast a confession by a man identified as Lee Meng-jun, whose name is also spelled as Lee Meng-chu, who, like Sheng, said he has been working to destabilize China and harm the ruling Communist Party's reputation. In the same report, CCTV said security personnel had solved more than 100 spying cases as part of an initiative dubbed Operation Thunder 2020.
Germany's foreign minister headed Tuesday to Greece and Cyprus, pledging full solidarity with them in their dispute with Turkey over sea boundaries and drilling rights in the eastern Mediterranean. Germany holds the rotating European Union presidency, and before departing Berlin, Foreign Minister Heiko Maas said Greece and Cyprus had both German and European Union backing, but urged an honest effort on all sides to find a solution. Greece on Monday accused neighbor Turkey of undermining efforts to ease a crisis over eastern Mediterranean drilling rights after Ankara redeployed a survey vessel for new energy exploration in disputed waters, including an area very close to a secluded Greek island.
That's all for our news updates from the World Service of All India Radio. It's a time for today's commentary entitled India's Latest Anti-Radiation Missile, scripted by Biman Basu and read by Neel Kamal Sharma.
India took a decisive step in its defense preparedness with the successful test of the new generation anti-radiation missile Rudram-1 last week. Developed by the Defence Research and Development Organisation DRDO, India's premier defence research and development agency, the new missile is aimed at providing tactical air superiority in warfare. The test was carried out from a Sukhoi 30 MKI fighter aircraft at the Integrated Test Range in Chandipur in Balasore district of Odisha on the east coast. The missile successfully hit a radiation target located on Dr. Abdul Kalam Island, formerly known as Wheeler Island, off the coast of Odisha with pinpoint accuracy. With this success, India joins a select group of nations to indigenously develop and test an air-launched radar-busting anti-radiation missile that should provide a significant boost to its Air Force's air defense suppression capabilities. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh congratulated the DRDO on successful test firing of the missile, calling it a remarkable achievement. An anti-radiation missile is an air-to-ground missile designed to detect and home in on an enemy radio emission source. Like most weapons in its class, the Rudram-1 features a passive homing guidance system in which the onboard radar seeker homes in on a radiation-emitting target. Typically, these are designed for use against an enemy radar, although jammers and even radios used for communication can also be targeted in this manner, neutralizing or disrupting the operations of the adversary's early warning radars, command and control systems, and surveillance systems that use radio frequency and give inputs for anti-aircraft weaponry can be very crucial. With a launch speed of up to Mach 2, twice the speed of sound, Rudram-1 provides the nation's air force with a critical air-to-ground weapon that can take out enemy radars and surveillance systems. The missile is designed to eliminate or suppress radiation-emitting sources such as surveillance radars in enemy territory, thereby clearing the way for effective airstrike. Suppression of radar systems will enable India's jets to carry out missions without having to worry about facing threats from radar-guided surface-to-air missiles. Because the missile is to be carried and launched from extremely complex and sensitive fighter jets, the development was full of challenges, such as development of radiation-seeker technologies and guidance systems, besides integration with the fighter jet. According to DRDO, Rudram-1 has been designed for Indian Air Force's requirement to enhance its suppression of enemy air defense capability. Equipped with state-of-the-art radiation tracking and guidance system, Rudram-1 has already undergone preliminary tests with the help of an operational fighter squadron of the Indian Air Force. It has been designed to be launched from various fighter aircraft currently in the inventory of the Indian Air Force, including Sukhoi Su-30 MKI, Dassault Mirage 2000, Jaguar and Tejas. Rudram-1 can strike any range between 100 to 250 kilometers. According to DRDO, feasibility studies on India's next-generation anti-radiation missile had begun in 2012 with the objective of designing and configuring the missile fully indigenously. In order to do this, the DRDO needed to master the development of crucial technologies including a wide-band passive seeker, a millimetric wave active seeker, radome for the seekers, and dual-pulse propulsion system, which was achieved successfully. After launch, guidance and navigation of the missile towards its target takes place through continuous inputs from sensors and passive homing seeker technology. These inputs are processed by an onboard computer that generates autopilot commands with the control system steering the missile towards the target. It is now well established that modern-day warfare is more and more network-centric, which means it comprises elaborate detection, surveillance and communication systems that are integrated with the weapon system. In this context, the success of India's newest anti-radar missile is significant. DRDO is planning to bring further software improvements to handle a larger variety of targets under various operational conditions while developing a separate ground-based variant of Rudram to be launched from mobile launcher.
You just heard the day's commentary on India's latest anti-radiation missile, scripted by Biman Basu and read by Neel Kamal Sharma. That's all we have for you from our AIR World Service. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time and same channel. Do tune in to us.